So, well, with these biographical notes, I'm going to pass the talking stick over to yet another great master of fantastic realism, my dear partner and beloved Robert Venosa.
Yes. Everybody. It was exactly 35 years ago and 3 months that I had gone down to a place called Rekindling in Austria, southern Austria. I had gone down to see the man who had been my teacher and mentor previously, Ernst Fuchs, who is the greatest painter alive today as far as I'm concerned. And who should be sitting in there studying was Mr. Jacobson. And we met, and we hit it off pretty good, and been friends ever since. But it was that, I met him a few times after that as well, and eventually, I guess we had both moved into Boulder. I moved back to Boulder in the 80s. I guess you were here, I'm not sure, but Phil had the position of Dean at Europa, Dean of Extended Studies.
Yes,
and he offered me the opportunity, my first opportunity, to teach painting technique. I had never done that before. So I thought it was a wonderful opportunity. I'm very grateful to him for that, because it's come a long way since. And that's back in '92, something like that. So
Yeah.
it's quite a while ago. And yeah, there's a lot of nice stories I know about Phil, but one in particular, and I hope he doesn't mind me telling it, because it's a pretty amazing story. I was at an exhibit one night, Martina and I, and it was at the Boulder Library. And a friend came in, a mutual friend, and he says, "Did you hear about Phil?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, we rushed to the hospital, emergency room for surgery." I said, "When did this happen?" He said, "Well, it was yesterday." So we rushed right up to the hospital, and we go to the room where he was supposed to be, and it's empty. The bed is all made. And the doctor walked by. I said, "Where's the guy that was supposed to be in this room here, Jacobson?" The doctor said, "He got up and left. He went home." I said, "But I heard that he had surgery." I said, "Yeah, he had major surgery." And he left, went home. Apparently Phil, I don't know exactly what had happened, but he couldn't breathe. There was something in his throat that was really...
My neck was broken.
His neck was broken. Okay. And they had to rush him there, and they had to cut in through the front. You stop me if I'm wrong, Phil. And then, yeah, they had to put him right into surgery and put him under, but he had a visitation by some tremendous, powerful angels looking down on him, and he knew that everything would be all right. But in the middle of the surgery, or just before it happened, he sits up and looks at the doctors and says, "You got to be honest when you're doing this now. Do it right." And he lays back down. This is the kind of guy we're talking about here. You know, get up and leave the next morning after that surgery. Anyway, but I think what I honor most about Phil is his continuing of carrying the flag of teaching this technique called the Mish technique. This is the oldest and best painting technique on the planet, and it started in 500 years ago by the Finite brothers, as Martina mentioned, and it's been happening ever since because it's the greatest oil painting technique, and I was taught that by Fuchs. Phil was taught that by Fuchs, and what we've been doing is trying to keep this alive and well in this day and age of computer graphics, because a lot of the artists that we teach today, you know, they're slowly slipping into computer work, and computer graphics can be incredibly beautiful. I like to work with myself sometimes, but we do not want the Mish technique to die in the vine. It has to continue to be offered to the world, painters. And so that's what we do, and I honor Phil very much for that. I love him dearly as a brother. And please, Phil, go off here and let everybody hear you.
I'm speechless.
No, you're not.
I got that.
I want to thank Maestro Roberto and Maestret, Martina, and of course, Sally, there you are, Sally, for having invited me. It's a real pleasure. I see so many beautiful old faces of friends that I haven't seen, and then the new faces. It's always refreshing to connect to. And what Martina and Robert were saying is very important, especially in America. I mean, it's amazing tonight that we're even doing a gallery show in this manner. Meaning, normally you go to a gallery opening, you walk in, it's an opening. You walk around, you don't know who the artist is. The gallery director says nothing. You randomly look at the pictures and you walk out. Thus is a metaphor for the lineage of art and awareness of art in America. Something was lost in the European tradition. In the European tradition, it's always done like this. The artists and the responders to art, or other artists that have come, communicate. You know, an esteemed colleague or great artist presents the artist being shown, who are familiar with that artist. Then the artist connects with the people that have come, welcomes them, and talks a little bit to them. And so it has happened for centuries in Europe. And I kind of ran away from America because of this scene, and have been mostly exhibiting and teaching in Europe the past 30 years. Now I see a very important need to devote energy and attention to America again, because art has lost its soul, generally. It doesn't mean that there's some great artists in art going on in America, but in general, something is missing. You know, you walk into a museum today, and there's toilet paper hanging in that corner of the room. There's Captain Crunch cereal on the floor, and there's an idiot on a video screen mumbling to some static noise behind him, and it's called an installation. Well, to me it's a deadstillation. I walk out of the museum unenlivened, uninspired, and drained of my energy. And I ask myself why. Deeply, I really ask myself, why is that? So that inspired actually the second book of this trilogy of Art and Spirit, the new book. To explore, how did that happen? How did the soul of art in America become lost? And even not just America, in parts of Europe and other parts of the world. The spirit of art needs to be reinvigorated, reintroduced, re-enlivened. It's always been there, but the conventional art world has not also included those artists that really are working from the spiritual imagination, or soul art, God art, whatever kind of term you want to put to it. They're not included in the conventional art world, especially in America. I don't mind if they show Captain Crunch, but also include the spirit of art with it. Be inclusive. So I felt the need to write that book and do this show here. I was amazed to come back to Boulder, which is like a haven, a bubble, a pocket of spiritual associations of which I was well connected to as the Dean of Europa. Knew all of the foremost organizers and leaders of those factions, from the Hindus to the Buddhists to the Muslims to the Jews to the Christians to the New Age factions. And yet, there's no Art of the Spirit gallery or museum in Boulder, other than Sally.
Yay, Sally!
This astounds me. This astounds me, and because of her effort, I had to go to Umbria and find the Orphic egg by an old master craftsman who crafted this by hand, a perfect egg, symbolizing a temperate oils tradition, and the alchemical Orphic egg of birth and new beginnings, which she is trying to create here. And I hope you all give her support. So.